What's going on? What's going on? This is D-Style being joined by Cali X Boxing. This is yet another edition, the 107th edition of Hispanics, Causin, Panic. If you're listening on the archive right now, hit that like button. Help us out with the algorithm a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Like the 50 Cent song. You know, that's it.
Just a little
You know
bit.
what I mean? See, so somebody just that's the sound. That's the sound. You know what I mean? How you doing, Calix? How was your weekend? How's everything going?
It was great and great fights, entertaining fights, stuff to talk about. We got some boxing news. Let's go. Let's cause some panic.
Absolutely. Look, man, we're gonna go over a couple of things here. All right. Now, before anything, we've got some nominees. Sonteo, MC, Chicano, they're all, involved in, the Chile crew, right? In nominating fighters, okay? So I want to give them all a shout out for giving us their time and all that. Chicano Prophet and MC in the Ring have nominated Alexis Rocha. He had an amazing performance this past Saturday, says MC in the Ring. For HCP of the Week, I nominate Alexa Rocha. So for the Al Chile crew, that's who he's got. And Sonteo, my pick for Hispanic Content Panic of the Week is Shemba Delgado. This, who, despite having a disability with his leg, followed his dream of boxing. He fought like a warrior, attached to find a video on his bout this Saturday. Guys, go follow Sonteo Media. That's Sonteo_media. He's got that video up there, so we could give that support. And that sounds like a great story. But I got to, Calix, I'm going to say Alexis Rocha for HCP of the Week. What you got?
I also have Alexis Rocha. I like the performance, and it was an Alexis Rocha performance, right? He had some moments where you're like, he looks a bit pedestrian, hittable, but that's what makes him fun is he gets hit, he hits you back. That was a beautiful knockout, and I'll tell you what, January, it's a knockout in January, but that's one that can carry for 11 more months as a possible knockout of the year. That was a beautiful shot that leveled Ashley, and that was beautiful. So it gets people talking, right? That Rashidi Ellis loss, as time goes on, and we'll talk about it, gets further in the distance of the rearview mirror.
Absolutely. So as an alternative poll, all right, I'm going to ask the audience, since we already have 3 votes, your HCP of the Week, he's got 4. So shout out to Rocha. But go ahead and let me know, guys, who you got as Beterbiev or Bivol if they were to fight this year. We'll talk about that as we get closer to that topic. But, yeah, go ahead and give us your votes. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Vote for Alexis Rocha.
Absolutely. Let me give a shout out to the chat here. We got the Don, we got Puro Sur, we got the Don, we got a shout out to you guys, by the way. We appreciate your support. We have Manny in Vivo Marrero, right? The Don, he's also saying that the Goldenboy stock is going up. Well, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. So shout out to you guys, everybody, man. Chicano Prophet in the building. Nando Llamas. Hey, yo, saludos to everyone listening from work. People putting in work, listening to HCP. Shout out to Sonteo in the chat as well. Let's get this started.
Beterbiev knocks out Yarde. Love the fight. And once again, we talked about a knockout of the year possible. We have a possible fight of the year as well. This was an entertaining matchup. And it was an entertaining matchup because unlike Joe Smith Jr., Yarde showed chin. He was able to come forward and bring the fight to Beterbiev for a longer period of time, land flush shots as well. But let me say this. Here's what I did not like from Saturday. Let's just start. We want to cause some panic. Let's do it. Let's do it off the top. We're going to name some names. The 2 judges who had Yarde ahead, no, Yarde was not ahead. This is one of my pet peeves as a boxing fan. And let's just start it off this way.
It wasn't that bad.
When we go in, D-style, when we go into a fight and we say, this fighter's a 9-1 favorite, so if the guy who's a 9-1 underdog has a decent round and he's not beat by too much in the round, he wins the round. No, that is not how judging works. That is not how scorecards work. It's flush. You're supposed to go in unbiased. I understand that everybody's human, right? 9-1 favorite. We expect that guy to look like a 9-1 favorite, but the scorecard goes in blank. If the guy wins a round, the guy wins the round. I also don't agree with, we got to take the fight from the champion to win the fight. No, score the fight. The guy won the round, it's 10-9. The guy lost the round, 9-10. That's how it works. So these people, these two judges who had the scorecards, Yarde ahead.
I just don't think it's that bad.
And I understand we're splitting hairs. Beterbiev still won the fight. Beterbiev gives up early rounds. Beterbiev was still going to win the fight. Beterbiev was going to get multiple knockdowns and get 10-7, 10-6 round and go on to win the fight. But it's a pet peeve of mine. And let's name a name. Joe Habib. Joe Habib had Yarde up. The time of stoppage, 67, 66.
You're across the screen from somebody that had Yarde ahead too.
D-style. 5-2. Beterbiev lost no more than 2 rounds going into the 8th round. No more than 2 rounds. I don't want to hear it, D-style. I don't want to hear Yarde. Yarde did look good. I like Yarde. Yarde's stock went up.
D-style.
7. He was ranked number 7 by Ring Magazine. He was ranked number 7 by Ring Magazine.
Right.
He should be a top 5 guy after that. I have him 4 or 5 after that. I think he goes up in the rankings. He looked good. He fared well. All of that. I don't believe in moral victories, but look, his stock still went up. And fighters like Yarde are the fighters we should be appreciating and rewarding, right?
Well,
fighting guys like Cobs, fighting guys like Beterbiev. So their stock goes up even in losses. I agree with all of that. Yarde performed well.
I mean, you have a hell of a way.
Here's my problem. You don't give a guy rounds just because he looked okay in the round compared to what we expect.
But Kelly, you don't give a guy a round just because he's a favorite and because the other guy's doing better than expected, so I'm going to give it to the favorite. Like that, you're kind of doing the same thing.
No. Beterbiev was winning the rounds.
Like I had it 4-3.
For who?
For Yarde.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
So first of all,
you didn't.
So shout out to Joe Habib. I had the same scorecard as boxingscene.com. The average fan scorecard had it 4 rounds to 3 for Beterbiev, but they gave round 1 to Beterbiev, which I thought was a swing. Flip it to Yarde, and you got it 67, 66. It was 4-3 fight either way. Look, boxing scene scorecard, okay? Look, here's another scorecard, all right? That's Joe Habib scorecard, all right? We could keep going, okay? Look at the average fan scorecard, all right? If you look at 9.66 to 9.38, that means there's people that gave that round to Yarde. Look at all those rounds, Calix. How many perfect tens do you see? You don't see any perfect tens. You see 4.4s, 9.4s, 9.5s. That means that there was people disagreeing with these rounds. And I'll tell you what happened. You cannot have Yarde win 2.5 minutes of a round, hurt Beterbiev, mind you. And yes, Beterbiev will close extremely strong and have an amazing, almost like get him against the ropes and a great uppercut. And it looks great. And it was great, actually. But is it enough to make up for what Yarde did for the majority of the rounds? I saw instances where they were intending to show highlights of Beterbiev, right? And then it turns out the punches didn't even land, and then they're forced to say, oh, that was a great counter right by Yarde. I saw that happen at least twice during the telecast. So what I'm saying is it's not crazy to have it 4-3 Yarde. Now, what I will say is it was obvious at that point that even if it was going to go the distance, it was turning into a one-sided beating at that point, right? Mm-hmm. But while the fight lasted, he was in a fight. I think he made a fight out of it. I didn't think he could survive past, the 5th or 6th round. He only went about 2 or 3 more than I thought he would, but it's still pretty impressive to me. And I think a lot of people are just making pre-assumptions, saying, oh, well, Beterbiev hits harder, so therefore you got to give it to him, or his punches sound different, or whatever it is people want to say. All I know is that it's just not crazy. Look, is boxing scene crazy? Look how they got it.
Yes, they are.
And then people can't. I'm telling you right now, I'm seeing people that gave Yarde the early rounds and see people that gave Yarde the later rounds. People can't make. There's no consensus on these rounds, bro, at all. I'm just saying. Now, could there be a little bit of, well, he did better than expected? Sure. I mean, let's suppose that's true, but you don't think there's some reverse psychology going on right now? I think there's a lot of fans that think that, they always give the round to the guy who, is the underdog. So they do the opposite. So when an underdog does win a round, they don't give it to him because it's close. And they're saying, well, everybody gives it to the guy who's the underdog, so I'm going to give it to the favorite. I think some reverse criticism is going on over here. Like, you know what I mean?
That does happen, but it didn't happen here. I thought people were giving Yarde too much credit for things he was doing. Now, Yarde stock did rise. They're talking about Yarde, Frank Warren, Bob Aaron putting on Yarde versus Joe Smith Jr. I'm here for it.
Good.
I want to see more Yarde after that fight than I did before. All right. I thought Yarde was going to win early. It pretty much played out the way we expected, right? Early, Beterbiev gives up early rounds, and then he eventually gets to you in the middle rounds, right? Grizzly Bear, he just attacks, and he gets you. The only thing that I noticed in this fight that was different than what I expected was Yarde was moving forward a lot more than I expected. Beterbiev was fighting on his back foot a lot more than I expected. But I thought that showed the layers of Beterbiev that he has, right? He can fight off the back foot. He was setting traps and eventually going to get his moment in the middle rounds, which he did. Somewhere between 6 and 8, he was wearing Yarde down. Yarde started to take those shots not as well each round. And that's why I don't agree with the narrative that Yarde was winning 5 through 7. That's not the fight that I was saying.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. But shout out to Los Chingones, subscribe to the channel. He says Yarde wasn't causing as much damage as Beterbiev, but he was landing some shots. I think he was landing more than some shots. I think he was landing a significant amount of shots. I think at points he was controlling most of the rounds at times. But then Beterbiev had blocks of time that was very dominant. But we have to count all the other times too. Like those rounds, I'm telling you right now, that round where he got Yarde against the ropes after Yarde hurt him, and then he turned him around and he got him against the ropes. He landed a great uppercut, and most people give Beterbiev that round. But why are we forgetting what happened for 2.5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
We're erasing 2.5 minutes because of the great. I wouldn't even call it trying to steal around or a flurry. He really was landing some damage on Yarde, right? But is that enough? And I think that's where the judgment comes in. You're not crazy if you give it a Beterbiev because there wasn't enough damage there, but Yarde hurt him as well. And if you reverse it, if the round started that way, if Beterbiev gets him against the ropes, lands an uppercut, and then Yarde controls the rest of the round and hurts him the same way at the very end, I think most people would have given that round to Yarde. The way you're supposed to score a boxing fight, you're supposed to be looking at the fight from the very beginning of the round, right? Right, and there's a trajectory while the round is in process, and one guy's ahead, and it's moving during the fight. Did he do enough to overcome the lead that Yarde had? Right, I don't think he did. Not in every round. That's my opinion. Now, what I will say is this: the 10-point must system is not perfect. All right, the 10-point must system does not have anything that says who took more damage or whose shots are having more of an effect. That's not a thing. Now, we couldn't suppose that as judges, but that's not a thing there. Like, it just isn't. Like, I think Chavez was landing more damage on Maldrick Tater, but I felt Tater was winning the rounds. So it's one of those balanced things, but what are you going to do? You know what I mean? But I'll tell you who we're not going to have to worry about, and there's going to be no controversy and all that. I'll tell you right now. All right? Like, because there's some other opponents that we're not going to have to worry about this, Alex. Okay? We're just not. And I'll tell you who. His name is Bivol. Okay? All right. The T1000. Now, because everybody talks about he's a Terminator. He don't stop coming. He's a T800. Okay? Beterbiev is a T800. He doesn't stop coming, but he's not quite liquid metal. Okay? And the one thing is that, look, if that was Bivol in the ring, we wouldn't have to worry about any controversy. You see how he left no controversy in the Canelo fight? Like, we don't have to worry about no controversy. We don't have to worry about nothing because he's going to give Beterbiev a boxing lesson. All right? That's what he's going to do.
Whoa.
He's going to give him a boxing lesson.
You think Bivol gives Beterbiev a boxing lesson?
He's
a boxing lesson?
To school. He's going to run him out of the ring. You know that saying, run him out of the course and run him out of the ring.
Now, to set this up and what I'm about to say, let me first backtrack to Saturday. What I don't want to hear is us give all this credit to Yarde for looking good, which he did. And in my opinion, he's now a top 5 light heavyweight. His stock goes up after this fight. I agree with it. But we can't also say, oh, Beterbiev looked ordinary. He looked 38 years old. We can't give this guy, his opponent, all this credit if we're going to, at the same time, take Beterbiev a notch down. To me, Beterbiev, although 38 years old, that's true. Age does play a significance here, and he's not the fighter that he was at 33 years old before he came into the public eye, the mainstream boxing fans' public eye. But he's still, to me, a top 10 pound-for-pound guy, Beterbiev. I got Bivol as a top 5 pound-for-pound guy. I got Bivol at number 4. I think my latest rankings, I had Beterbiev 8 or 9, something like that, and we'll see what happens when I update them at the beginning of next month. But my Beterbiev love that I showed at the top of this show comes to an end now. It's who is the most versatile fighter in the sport statistically? You know who it is? It's Dimitri Bivol. Who is the most? He leads the most. He's top 10 in the most statistical categories in CompuBox. Who is the best defensive fighter in the sport statistically? Dimitri Bivol. Dimitri Bivol and Shakur Stevenson statistically are the 2 best defensive fighters in the sport by far. By far. It's not even close. Their opponents land like 12% of punches against them, so it's not even close. So these punches that Beterbiev is setting up and landing on other opposition, he's not going to be landing as much on Dimitri Bivol. He's just not. Right. Arthur Beterbiev gives up rounds early to everyone, right? He's similar to Tank in that manner, except Joe Smith Jr., but he's similar to Tank in that manner. Now, I think Beterbiev is also the type of fighter who's going to fight up to the competition. So we got to keep that in mind. But Bivol is as well. So the question I have for the chat and the question I would have for anybody who's picking Beterbiev to beat Bivol is this. Do you see Dimitri Bivol getting knocked out? Do you ever envision a scenario in which Dimitri Bivol gets knocked out? Because that's the way, in my opinion, Beterbiev would have to win that fight. I don't think a fighter out there around 175 can take 6-7 rounds off of Bivol. I don't think that guy exists.
I don't see it. Look. Chauncey Pro says after this fight, I do favor Bivol even more over Beterbiev. I think Bivol beats him on points. Los Chingones. Beterbiev has a great poker face. It's hard to tell when he's hurt or frustrated. I think it must be a Russian thing because I think Bivol has the same thing. Chicano Prophet, Yarde's last 2 fights had devastating body shot finishes. Normal people would have went down to those shots. Boxing pound for pound, Jack says Beterbiev kills Bivol inside 10 rounds. Yarde proved his worth regardless, says Nando Llamas. And boxing pound for pound, Jack, D-Style's going to cry after the fight. Better kills Bivol. I think it means Beterbiev kills Bivol inside 10 rounds. The boxing historian says Canelo fanboy alert, and he also says Bivol going to get stopped. All right, pressure fighters beat pure boxers. Well, that's not necessarily true, but I got you. I agree. These style boxing, I think it's going to look similar to the Zurdo fight. Well, there you go. I mean, at the end of the day, and obviously the chat has different opinions and all that. Keep them coming, guys. Hit the like button, by the way. But look, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to suggest that it's going to be an easy fight. Right? It's going to be a difficult fight that Bivol's going to make look easy. You know what I mean? Like after the fight, oh man, you made it look so easy. You should say, well, it wasn't easy, but but it's going to look easy, I think, in my opinion. I just think, bro, he's quick. He's like quick, like a cat, bro. Like the speed, it's going to take Beterbiev at least 3-4 rounds before he starts remotely catching up to Bivol. So Bivol's going to have that head start, and he's going to have some rounds in the bank, and he's going to have the ability to take some rounds off even if for any reason he gets hurt or he needs to take a break to kind of extend the fight. Like, I'll be honest, I have a very hard time seeing Beterbiev stopping Bivol. Like, I really do. I have a hard time envisioning it.
I do as well. And I got a lot of respect for Bivol. Once again, I got him on my top 10 pound for pound. And I think both of these fighters are special. And by the way, I think it's one of the best 3 fights that can be made in boxing, pure fights. right up there with Inoue Fulton and Bud versus Spence, and maybe better than both. It might be the best pure fight we see in boxing because of the stylistic matchup and how great and special both of these fighters are. But I'll say this. People ask me, will this fight happen in 2023? I don't think it will. But the fact that it's not happened yet, who is that on? That's the question, right? Who is it on?
Yeah.
And here's the answer. The answer to that is when right after Bivol beats Canelo, right? Right after he beat him. And we've got momentum going, right? Bivol is now more people than ever now know Bivol and who he is, right? So we've got momentum. And then Beterbiev is about to fight Joe Smith Jr., right? So what happens right before the fight? The day before the fight, Bob Arum announces that Yarde is going to be the next opponent. He brings Yarde to Madison Square Garden and builds a fight with Yarde. That was the moment you should have been building Undisputed. Bivol says after the Canelo fight, I don't want the Canelo rematch. I want Beterbiev next. He was vocal. I want Undisputed next. Right?
Yeah, they're both saying that. They're both
saying it. That's my point, though, is we know everything we need to know about a fighter by two things, right? How their peers in and around their weight class view them, but also how do their handlers handle them. So the fact that Bob Arum is building the Yarde fight instead of the Bivol fight, and Bivol's handlers are willing to put him in there with anybody, tells me that I favor Bivol more than Beterbiev. I don't think that Bob Arum fully trusts that he can go in there and beat Bivol. I don't think so. Why build the Yarde fight? The Undisputed fight was right there. It could have happened. It could have happened. It could have happened this past weekend. We could have had Bivol versus Beterbiev. Now the Canelo rematch is in the way. And I don't think Bob Arum has a problem with that at all. Bob Arum can be out there all he wants. Oh, we'll see what they do on that side. He knows the Canelo rematch is next. And he knew what the timeline was going to be. He could have made Bivol versus Beterbiev for the boxing fans, but instead 100%. He put Yarde. And he 100%. Extended the timeline. He extended the timeline, knowing that his fighter is 38 years old. Why?
Don't underestimate the Bob fight. He's an expert in age. You know what I mean? He knows. He knows what old is. Bob Arum's been 38. You know what I mean?
But Beterbiev can conceivably win that fight. He can.
Hey, really quick though, side tendencies. Beterbiev beat Usyk on points. The man has skills. Got more comments about this topic here. Bivol wasn't doing jack crap for the longest time since Nando Llamas. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, he was beating the dudes like Joe Smith. Like, what do you mean he wasn't doing jack shit? I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Bivol gulps every time he hears Beterbiev's name. Oh, come on. He said, in those amateur stories, man, it's a big factor, Calix. Look, I get it, but he's the one saying, I want to dispute it. I want Beterbiev. You know, he's the one saying it. Like, they ask him about Canelo, he's like, I mean, maybe, you know, but I want Beterbiev. You're like, I'm just saying, both guys want this fight, and I think there's a good chance the fight could happen. However, it's going to be hard for, I mean, Matchroom is in the way, obviously, but I will say this. We need both fighters to keep asking for this fight, and we as fans need to demand it. Don't succumb. Don't submit to the suits. You know what I mean? Like, just don't do it. Don't submit to the men in black. All right. You need to keep demanding this fight. As boxing fans, we need to demand fights. Okay, it's what we need to do, Calix.
Yeah, and as a Canelo fan, I don't know exactly what to do about this either. Should I be calling for him to fight the Benavidez Plant winner next instead? That way we can get Undisputed. I don't really know what to do with the situation because I can't fault the man for wanting to avenge his loss, and it's a bigger fight, but I want to see Bivol versus Beterbiev. I do. That's the fight I want to see. So I'd rather see that and see Canelo go the opposite way for at least the time being, and he has the excuse to, but I'm not sure he's built that way. I think he's an alpha, and he can't let it in that way. But boxing, once again, getting in the way of something beautiful. And it's sort of the opposite with these celebrity YouTubers, right? Because we see what happened. Jake Paul and Tommy Fury come together and announce a fight, face off. You know, how are we supposed to view this? How are we supposed to view Jake Paul, Tommy Fury? How are we
should we just accept it and get excited about it? Like, might as well. Is it one of those things?
I'm agnostic. Like I said, I don't care about the YouTube boxers.
I just
I've
don't
never
like
seen an
Alex.
exhibition
I don't like
matchup.
the fact. Like I don't like who boxing picks to represent us. You know what I mean? Like, oh, don't worry, boxing. Chavez Jr. is going to represent you against a former UFC middleweight champ. Like what? And then like we got Fury, not Tyson Fury, not even Huey Fury. Like I wish it was Huey Fury. Like we got freaking Tommy Fury
Fredo.
out. Like he's like representing boxing. Like he's the one that Jake Paul's saying, y'all said I can't be the real boxer. Well, here it is. Like, oh my God, this is the dude. This is our representative, Calix. Tommy Fury. Like the honor of boxing lays on the shoulders of Tommy Fury. His own brother. Even Tyson Fury was laughing at the thing. He found the whole thing funny. You know what I mean? Like when Jake Paul said, "Oh, you're gonna get this own," like they showed Tyson Fury laughing, bro. Like, it's hilarious. This is crazy. Tommy Fury represents us, brother. Like when James Toney was like, "Fuck UFC, boxing's where it's at. I'll come to the cage. What's up?" Like they gave him Randy fucking Couture. You know what I mean? Boxing, like we choose Chavez Jr. and then now fucking Tommy Fury, bro. He's guaranteeing, the charade's gonna end. Like they have him talk like a real boxer, right? He's the real boxer, and this is it. Do people not understand the level of trolling that Jake Paul's gonna do in the boxing world? Okay, after he wins this fight, because something I don't know what it is. Something just tells me he's gonna win. I don't look at Tommy and say, man, whoa, that dude, he's it. I don't know, man. I just don't know. And did you see fucking Bradley, bro, capping? Oh yeah, I didn't fight nobody my first 5 fights either. Like, dude, like he fought a former basketball player, bro. He fought the worst striker in MMA history. Like this, he fought a wrestler.
I've seen people use that analogy, right? The first 7, 8, maybe 10 fights, some fighters, maybe 15, 20 are easy fights, right? The issue is this. That's always my pushback on this is when you put a paywall, whether you like it or not, when you put an added paywall behind a fight, you expect more.
Yes.
So Jake Paul is out here charging pay-per-view. Jake Paul is out here saying, I want to fight Canelo 3 years from now. I'm one of the best fighters in the world. I can beat these guys. You got to go out there and prove it. You can't fight a Tommy Fury or a Nate Robinson or whoever. So, like I said, I don't care about the celebrity boxing thing that much. And it doesn't bother me that boxing is being represented by guys like Tommy Fury and Chavez Jr. in this world, because as a hardcore boxing fan, I'd rather the hardcore boxers fight hardcore boxers, right? I don't want to see Canelo go and teach Jake Paul a lesson, right? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Canelo's energy head in that direction. I'd rather see Canelo fight a Bivol, a Beterbiev. I don't need to see him fight a Jake Paul. Let our scraps go do that. Let Chavez Jr. go do it. Let him in his pink speedo warm up in the living room. Let Tommy Fury go do that. Let Fredo Fury go do that. Let him go in that world.
But here's why I have an issue with all that. First of all, Los Chingones, I'm interested to see what Jake Paul does against an actual boxer, even if it's a nobody like Tommy Fury. I mean, good point. Here's the thing, right? The problem is this, Calix, that we all know that Chavez Jr. was never really that dude, in all honesty. We all know he was like a weight.
He had some good wins.
I understand that, but when I say that dude, like he wasn't like the man. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone kind of knew Martinez was going to beat him, and like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't surprising when he did. If anything, it was surprising he knocked down Martinez. Like I think Martinez got a little too comfortable, and what happened. But and we all know he was a weight bully. He was caught several times with diuretics. At the fight over here in El Paso, he literally just left, like without doing the post-fight test. He did it in San Antonio too. It is what it is, right? And boxing allowed all that, but you know what it allows is the following. Since he was called a world champion, right? He never beat Martinez for the belt, but they had him win an interim, and then they named him the champion, right? Since they do that, well, this is what happens. And then MMA panelists and podcasters do shows saying things like, man, Anderson Silva beat a former middleweight champion. That's what he did. Boxing ain't shit, right? Without putting proper perspective. Like, Chavez Jr. hasn't been relevant like in 10 years. Like he hasn't done anything since like in forever. Chavez Jr. got knocked out in the middle rounds against Fonfara in that same weight class. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was a while ago. So there's no proper context being put in it. And furthermore, he got like robbed by strippers and shit. Remember that shit? Like, or actually, I think it was prostitutes actually. Like, and it was filmed where they were just kind of he was in bed, he passed out, they took his wallet, his check, everything, right?
Hey, whatever.
And he was like, people were mad at Cal Brook. Like, Chavez Jr. was doing that tenfold, right? The dude was like high on shit. He didn't even train properly for that fight, whatever, right? But hey, that's our representatives, Alex. Tommy Fury's going to represent us. I don't like it.
I don't really have as much of an issue with it, just to cap this off. And I do hope, I agree with Team Batman Boxing. I do hope that Tommy Fury, wouldn't it be hilarious if Tommy Fury's the one to put it into it? I would love that.
I mean, that would be great. And Jake Paul's going to get everything coming to him because he's a professional troll. So obviously, as time progresses, he's going to get trolled as it goes on. You got to tune into Hispanics, Causin, Panic. This is the 107th episode. Hit the like button and hit the bell that we're notified every week. We'll be on Calix's on Thursday as well, by the way. So make sure you subscribe to Calix, hit the bell button, and so we guys can see you there as well. We're just halfway done here, so don't go anywhere. Have a couple more topics for you, but Kid Austin, Floyd Schofield, he was a guest on the show. It was his very first YouTube interview, actually. And after his pro debut, I've had him on 3 times, I believe. And, 20 years old right now. He beat Mercado, who was a veteran. It was a step up for him. Mercado was 17-4 at the time. And I think it was a good win. He knocked him down. He won virtually every round and did his thing. Devin Haney tweeted out, Alex, that Floyd Schofield, Kid Austin, just keep his name out of his mouth. That the kid ain't nothing, whatever. Kid Austin responded, well, why don't you fight me then? And here's what I'll say. First of all, why is Devin Haney so caught up with this kid? Like, he's 20 years old. He just fought a step-up fight. Like you're getting ready. Aren't you getting ready for a Lomachenko fight? Or should you be focused on a Shakur maybe? And we know you're probably going to move up to 140 after this fight. So I don't understand why he's so caught up or why he cares so much. What, if anything, this kid or his dad said. I think that there's a history there. They had a sparring session, I believe, and Haney said he got the best of him. They said he didn't. Again, it goes back to sparring. So I don't like where the energy of Haney's at. But I got to keep it real, though. I see Kid Austin on his stories and social media calling out Devin Haney to a fight. We just have to be realistic here. I mean, it doesn't benefit Haney. Haney would get trashed and he would get ridiculed if he took that fight. Like if it wouldn't announce he's going to fight Floyd Schofield instead of Lomachenko at this point, right? I think that would be problematic. But at the same time, I don't blame him for calling out Haney. Like, he just putting his name out there, to be quite honest with you. Like if people are talking, he made Haney tweet about him, right? That tweet probably got more attention from than the actual fight itself. So I think it's a win-win for him, and Haney's just kind of caught up on all of this, I don't know.
Several things about this. Floyd Schofield, I thought he showed well again Saturday. I like his style because he loads up. He wants to get guys out of there. He's quick. He's bottom heavy. So I like his style, although he's got some things to brush up, right? He's still raw, but thing is, I don't know if he's going to get past that. I think he'll always be stylistically the guy he is, which I'm fine with. I like fighters who have potential to beat top fighters, but at the same time are extremely flawed and going to show vulnerability. So I like that about Schofield. It intrigues me. And what we know as well about Schofield is he's a good self-promoter. He's all over social, particularly Instagram, got a big following there. And from y'all's first interview with him, couple of years ago, we knew that about him. We also knew he was already calling out Devin Haney. He was saying we've been offering him $1 million for the fight. Whether that's true or not, $1 million to fight him. We got the best of him in sparring, etc. Well, we also know about Haney. So when you ask, why is Haney entertaining this? Haney entertains everything. Haney's the guy who was willing to drop the ring belt because he wasn't in the top 10 pound for pound. He and his father are all over the place, and they entertain everything. All right. And they also put a lot of stock in sparring, practice, beating other guys in sparring. So we know that about these two guys. And it wouldn't surprise me in the future if they cross paths, but now is not the time. Right. But I don't blame Schofield for doing this. Clout chase. Do it. Try to attach your name to him. But at the same time, Haney, yeah, stay down there. Stay down there.
Look,
I got bigger fish to fry at the time.
Look, the last time it was him and his father on. I just said, should he be focused on the top names? Or why not wait? Let the matchmakers kind of do their thing and work your way up. You'll get there eventually. He's young. And it's like in fairness to them, the dad just flat out said, look, we're in this game to fight the best, and we want the best now. People could say what they want, but that's how they feel. You know what I mean? I could just give my opinion. I think he's in the right path right now, though. Like, what they're doing and what they're saying are two different things, and what they're doing is the right thing. Like, they're actually, like, this was a good step-up fight, and he passed with flying colors. People were criticized. Why? Because they didn't stop him? I mean, I don't even know that opponent's ever been stopped. If the chat wants to correct me on that, but and he's fought other big name prospects and wasn't stopped. So it is what it is. I'll keep supporting Kid Austin. We'll see where the future holds, but he's calling out some names, bro, and he's going for the big fish already. You know what I mean? So what are you gonna do?
They're building him right, and Goldenboy knows how to build guys right, and they gave him proper resistance in this fight. You want to go rounds. You want to get experience with going rounds now.
And he finished strong. Like he didn't. The reason
I like him with Goldenboy and I love the younger guys going to top rank, but if it's not top rank, I like them going to Goldenboys. Goldenboy will put their guys at risk. They will. They'll put their guys at risk at a certain point. So I like him being over there. Sure. It's believable to me that he'll be in fights like that 2 years from now, maybe a year from now. It's believable. I think Oscar will take some risks with this fighter. Now, speaking of Goldenboy, Oscar, did you see Instagram? Bernard Hopkins, Bud Crawford, Oscar De La Hoya, big things coming.
Oh, boy.
Piqued my interest. My ears perked up. I'm like, oh, okay. This is actually what I was hoping for. And I said it on my channel a couple months ago after the fight, after Bud's last fight, is why not show some interest with Goldenboy? Why not team up with Goldenboy? There are some fights there. And Al Heyman is losing his death grip of the welterweight division, right? Especially if Spence stays up at 154. Keith goes up to 154. Danny's going up to 154. Now, all of a sudden, we've got some non-PBC fighters at the top, right? Bud, let's say Bud goes to Goldenboy. Then we got Vergil. Stanionis, a non-PBC fighter. Boots, a non-PBC fighter. So all of a sudden, we've got some guys who could possibly be mixing it up. And then Roca goes on there and puts on, a knockout of the year type performance. So we've got some things possibly moving here. So I like what's starting to develop at the welterweight division, the division that has been a dumpster juice division for so long, been a locked division, so long been number one and number two, not fighting each other, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So first of all, as far as the Roca performance, I like the performance. I thought he showed vulnerabilities, but he has in the past. He lost to Rashidi Ellis, but since the Ellis loss, he's strung together 3 years of wins, good wins. Beat the Blair Cobs as well. They're developing him back up, and he's gonna, whether we like it or not, it looks like the Bud Crawford's fight's gonna fall in his lap because Vergil went elsewhere with Stanionis. Can't blame him for that. Good fight. And on top of that, Keith is going to Errol. And then on top of that, Boots went the IBF route. Could have been his fight as well. So it looks like it's going to fall in Roach's lap.
For sure.
What do you think about all of these things lining up right now?
Well, first, shout out to Fight Dodgers. Shout out to D-Style Boxing. Nando says PBC's Brandon Lee is 20-0. Just fought a club fighter and an 8-rounder. Shaking my head, he says. Yeah. The lawyer's big announcement is that he's finally coming out of the closet. Jesus. Nando says Goldenboy DAZN can line up Rocha, Vergil, Ben, maybe Ryan Garcia later. Top Rank don't have any vouchers to be sharing and all that good stuff. Look, and Puro Sur, just to kind of touch on what he said here, that's what this era does. They clout chase each other as promotion. Look, there's nothing wrong with clout chasing if you do it in the right way and in the right context. If a prospect wants to do it right while they're being brought up the right way, I don't see a problem with that at all. Okay, we can't. A lot of boxing fans praise guys like Jake Paul for doing the right type of promotion and well, let the young guns do what they want to do. They're hungry. Plus, when you're young, man, you think you could take on the world. You know what I mean? It is what it is. He probably does feel he could beat Haney. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Ego, boxing ego comes out, and he's like, Floyd, like the dude says. He's like, how could Crawford call himself his own boss? How can you work at Goldenboy, but you your own boss? He said he's his own boss, but Spence isn't his own boss. Well, who's the guy that started, Calix, the whole be your own boss, and I'm my own boss, and Manny Pacquiao, his boss is Bob Arum. I'm my own boss, and all this other stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Floyd Mayweather got checks and worked at Goldenboy Promotions. This is literally a receipt. Well, not really a receipt, it's a check, but you know what I mean. All right? It's better than a receipt. How about that? All right? I'm just saying, I just want to put that out there. Being a free agent, right, doesn't mean, right, having flexibility doesn't mean you're not your own boss, or it doesn't mean that you're under the thumb of somebody, right? The whole point of being a free agent is that you have the freedom to work with Goldenboy. You have the freedom to work with some app that no one's even tried yet, but they're willing to give you some money to do it. Okay, it means they could do these things. Hell, he could even work with Top Rank for a fight or two if he wants. It doesn't mean any of those. He could have worked with PBC if Spence actually wanted to fight, right? Because now I'm hearing Calix that he's ducking. This is proof that he's ducking Spence. Because he wasn't with Goldenboy before Spence announced that he's going to fight Keith Thurman. He's going to fight Keith Thurman in May. What the hell is Crawford supposed to do from here to May? Mm-hmm. And then it's like he won't be ready to fight the next month. It's going to be another 5-6 months. So what is Crawford supposed to fucking do? Well, that's it. I don't like the Rocha fight. I don't get excited about, Crawford versus Rocha. Maybe they put on the zone, like non-pay-per-view, just the zone, maybe. Mm-hmm. But they're going to put a paywall on it. You know what I mean? Nando Yama says, please jab the like, hashtag HCP. Share this video on our social media platform, guys. Let's get to 35 likes ASAP. Los Chingones says, still got a long way to go, but Alexi Rocha has a strong candidate for knockout of the year. Absolutely.
Yep. Now, here's the thing, and I agree with you. I'm with everybody. I don't want to see the Rocha fight. I think that he obviously is going to be there for Crawford to hit. He's going to have openings. It's going to be a fun fight, but Crawford's going to get rid of him, and it doesn't really get us anywhere. I get it. But what I don't want to see is people exaggerate where we're at, and people over criticize Bud Crawford for this, because we are where we are for a reason, right? Realistically speaking, Boots goes IBF route. Vergil goes another route. He's going to fight Stanionis. I can't blame him for that. It's a good fight. But Keith is going to fight Errol, and they're going to fight for no belts. So Bud is left in a situation where I'm not going to get a fight with Errol. I told him to spin the block right after the fight. I'm not going to get that fight. They didn't give me another offer, and he's going to be busy until May, right? April, May, whenever that is. And then he's already been through this last year, right? After the Ugas fight, he didn't get a rough draft for a contract till 4.5 months later. And that's both fighters have said that. And neither fighter got guaranteed money. So he's saying, I got to stay busy. I got to get on with my career. I can't sit here at 36 years old and wait around. So the Roca fight is next. Let's get it done. Let's get it going. And then Vergil versus Stanionis winner. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm over here, Golden Boy. Give me a 3-fight deal. And if you can deliver the Spence fight after that, beautiful, even better. If it's a 3-fight deal, Oscar's out there saying he can make the deal. But that's another point of mine. And Nando has brought this up in the past. It's actually easier to make Bud versus Spence if you have two outfits involved. If they're saying we can't make this a super fight, but these are two super fighters, how about have two people take on the risk, two entities take on the risk?
Right.
And that's my issue as to why people have been selling me for 5 years as to why this fight can't happen, because Bud has to cross the street. He's got to go over there to PBC to make the fight. Why? Why couldn't Bob guarantee Bud his money and Al guarantee Errol his money? And now we've come full circle and people are saying, oh, since he's going to sign with Golden Boy, Oscar and Al can get together and make this fight, since that's what they're doing with Tank versus Ryan. That's what I've been saying for 5 years. Why can't we co-promote? We can co-promote.
Well,
people co-promote all the time.
With Canelo, with all due respect, out they weren't willing to co-promote Canelo. Well, what makes you think they're going to co-promote with Bud?
True. But that's my point. That's my point is for the people out there that are going to over-criticize Bud and where he's at in his career, he's there for a reason. He's been locked out of the welterweight division for the most part. So now that Al is losing that death grip, all right, and it looks like hopefully these belts become vacant. Hopefully they're stripped at some point, whatever it may be. I hope Spence moves up to 154, and I hope this division is unlocked. I hope these belts become go in a vacuum, and we start to get fights. But here's what I'll say. For the people who are automatically moving on to Bud versus Vergil later in this year, Stanionis is going to have something to say about that. I like Vergil. I do. I think Vergil will win that fight, but that is not a tune-up fight.
Like, all he's going to say is congratulations, Vergil. That's all he's going to be saying.
D-style. If Vergil
fights, my friend.
If Vergil fights Stanionis and Bud in the same year, whether he wins that Bud fight or loses, I don't care.
Absolutely, but Stanionis, like when you say Stanionis is going to have something to say, like what? Like, hey, congratulations on your win? Like, what is he going to say?
I'm just warning people. Stanionis is not an easy fight.
Well, you think he's going to win? You think he's going to beat Vergil Ortiz?
He can win that fight.
Is he going to win? But is he?
I'm picking Vergil, but I think it's going to be a close fight.
I could walk outside and a toilet could fall on my head. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
The odds of that are very slim. The odds of Stanionis winning a fight with Vergil, I don't agree that he's a 3-1 underdog. If I had to put a percentage on a D-style, I would say he has a 42% chance of winning against Vergil.
I like how Calix put 42 instead of just 40 to make it more legit. But what I will say is this. I give Stanionis he ain't going to win, brother. He ain't going to win that fight. Like this whole Stanionis has something to say about it. You know what he's going to do? He's going to say, congratulations, Vergil. You're a great fighter. Great win.
Here's what I'll say, D-style.
Well, what is he going to do? Stop? Is he going to stop Vergil Ortiz?
This is what I'll say, D-style. If Vergil beats Stanionis and then announces the Bud fight and then fights Bud later this year, and he does it in the same year,
okay.
We're talking about that's a great year, even if he splits it, even if he beats Stanionis.
He's only beating Vergil. Vergil has like an injury or something, brother. If Vergil like pulls a muscle.
But I don't want to downplay Stanionis. That is a really good win if he wins that fight. And it is not a tune-up. That is not a tune. That's not one of those fights that you say, "Oh, Buzz later this year, so let's get another guy."
I agree 100%.
That's not Hector Luis Garcia. This is a legit threat. He's a legit threat.
It is. It's a legit threat, but like, it's a weapon. But the weapon's going to get neutralized. Is all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
So you're that high on Vergil?
I'm definitely high on Vergil. I've been telling people about Vergil. I think Vergil is the truth. Vergil has passed every test with flying colors. He handled Mean Machine better than Crawford did. I know a lot of Crawford fans don't like hearing that, but he did. When people were saying the same thing, oh, don't sleep on Mean Machine. Oh, he's a mean machine. Like okay, cool, but the Mean Machine got destroyed because everything Vergil touches, he destroys. Like it is what it is. But I'm just saying,
and Vergil has more layers than people think. I'll just end it with this. He's more versatile fighter than he thinks. And his team, I've heard his team talk, and they don't like how 2022 went down, and they want to be very, very aggressive in 2023.
Yeah, for sure. Now I want to just kind of go back because I kind of dove into the Vergil thing, but back to the Crawford thing. I think it is a good move for Crawford to. Now, I wouldn't say I'm not going to say, hey, sign a long-term contract with Goldenboy. I would do fight by fight. Why? Because after this fight with Rocha, you may have some other options, so you leave your options open, right? At the most, a 2-fight deal, right? That's kind of what Canelo does. 2-3 fights now, and then it's a wrap. 1 fight maybe, and that's it. If I'm Crawford, that's what I do, right? I keep my options open. Somebody mentioned it in the chat. I think it was Nando. He said they don't have. It was Nando. They don't have much of a budget. PBC is running out of money. The budget is being sliced almost every year on Showtime. Fox Sports doesn't want to spend any more money. That's why you don't see boxing on FS1. There's boxing every weekend all over the country, and nobody want to air it, and not with PBC anyway, because at this point, PBC just isn't worth it to them, right? The network is making that decision, right? If you're Crawford, you kind of wait for PBC to be put in a position where they need to make the fight, right? It may or may not happen, but if you're Crawford, you wait for the right moment. For now, though, he can't be waiting around for Spence. Spence is going to fight in May. They could do it in March. May, bro. He's going to fight this dude in May. Are you freaking shitting me? And Crawford's supposed to just sit around, just wait for this dude. For what? He's been waiting for the dude for like 5 years. 5 years. And then we have dudes on Twitter saying shit like, well, why is everybody pressuring Spencer Crawford to fight each other, huh? And Bivol and Beterbiev have been champions for years, and nobody ever pressured them to fight. Well, yes, they have, actually. If you're a real boxing fan, you have said, I want to see Beterbiev and Bivol fight. It's just y'all just didn't know who the fuck they were. A lot of you didn't know who the fuck Bivol was, so he beat Canelo. You were saying, who's Bivol? Why is Canelo cherry picking an opponent? But now all of a sudden, you want to call people out because they never called for this fight. Bud Crawford was a number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the sport and moved up a division. We wanted to see him against the best welterweight at the time, and that was Spence. So of course we wanted to see that fight. It's not the same thing. It's crazy. Well, that's
I like this question right here. Who has a better shot of winning, Stanionis over? It's definitely Stanionis over Ortiz. Now I'm also seeing comments out there in the chat that's saying,
oh, for sure.
Vergil is very hittable, and he is. He gets hit, but there's a meaning to it, right? He's luring guys in, he's wearing guys down. I don't think it's caveman. I think there's a science behind it. But also, can you imagine that fight, Bud, between Vergil? Because Bud takes shots from guys early. He does. Evan was catching him with shots. Mean Machine was catching him with shots. And I how big of a fan I am with Bud. I think he's going to end undefeated. I think he's going to come out on top regardless of what happens. But if there's going to be a guy, I've always felt this way. I think that Vergil matches up better with Bud than Boots does. I do. I think he matches up better than Boots does. And I think it's because Bud will get hit. Bud's that guy. I brought up this analogy. He goes to the club just looking for confrontation. He's one of those dudes. He goes to the club with his white G-Nikes on. He stands there on the wall at the most trafficked part of the club and sticks his foot out and dares somebody to step on it. That's what he does.
That's what he wants. He was daring Spence, brother.
He's going to dare Vergil to hit him early.
Let me tell you,
Vergil's going to hit him early, and then they're going to trade. And then Vergil's one of those guys where you're like, what happens? Like if he catches Bud flush, maybe, just maybe something
Maybe.
can happen here.
Look, let me say this. Vergil gets hit too much. Does he? When you look at the when you look at the stats, he doesn't get hit anywhere near as much as people make it out to be. He just doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Has he been hit? Sure. But like, I remember people made a big deal because Mean Machine caught him with a good shot that caught his attention. People used the word hurt. I don't think he was. Maybe he was hurt, but he wasn't like at the brink of getting knocked out or nothing like that, right? But Mean Machine dropped Crawford. They just didn't call it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mean Machine was hitting. Crawford gets hit. Spence gets hit. This whole division
gets hit.
A Karen was landing shots on fucking Boots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, manager,
Ugas,
manager.
Look what Ugas did to.
Yeah, everybody gets hit in this division. Ain't no Floyd Mayweather in this division.
Mm-mm.
Ain't no. I don't see a Pernell Whitaker in this division. I just sorry, I don't see it. I don't see like a Willie Pep in this division. I see really good fighters that all of them give us great fights, and I think that's a good thing.
They get hit.
Vergil doesn't get hit. It's not like he gets hit like a Margarito. Like it's just crazy, bro. You know what I mean? A lot of them are partially blocked. He rolls shots. He has a nice tight guard. You know what I mean? And does he force exchanges sometimes? Yes, but there's an art to that, right?
Yeah.
Because with exchanges comes how you leverage your shots, and I think he's a master at that. Okay, Vergil's so good, Calix. Dude's accusing him of juicing. That's how good he is, bro. Like he's scaring dudes out here. Like, I think that dude's on the juice. Holy shit! You see what Vergil did? Vergil's a master at forcing exchanges, and he always puts himself in position to have the better leverage on his shots. He always does. This guy made Orozco take a fucking knee and contemplate whether he wanted to continue fighting or not. This guy took Herrera, when he was just a prospect, by the way, and annihilated him in ways Danny Garcia wishes he could do. That dude should have had a win over Danny Garcia, by the way. Okay? And I'm just saying, he took Hooker, a former world champion, and dispatched of him. Okay? So all I'm saying is don't sleep on Vergil, and Vergil is the future. That's what I'll say. He's so good, Calix. They're accusing him of, like, people are like, he's juicing. I'm just saying, when people start accusing you of juicing, in a sport where we kind of all know everybody juices, I guess, and you stand out as the juicer, woo-wee. I'm just saying, bro, he could start a company like one of those juice companies. When in reality, it's Stanionis who's juicing, says Drew. I don't know. But all I know is that he's so good. All right. Before we proceed really quick, so far in the poll, we got 54 votes. Keep them coming, guys. Bivol 66%. Beterbiev 34%. That's the update on the poll.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I want to bring up too is for Bud, it's got to be a 2 to 3 fight deal if it's going to Goldenboy, because if he signs a 1 fight deal with Goldenboy and it's Rocha, then that's not going to go over well. But if there's a long-term plan with Goldenboy, at least for 2023, it's like it's more tolerable. You can swallow the Rocha fight, right? You're like, oh yeah, he's got to fight Rocha because he's got to fight the mandatory, and it falls in Rocha's lap because Yoga McKeith is going this way, and Boots went the IBF route, and Vergil went the Stanionis route. But if he has to fight Rocha for the mandatory, and then Vergil is on the other side of that, and they can still try to sell people on the end of the yellow brick road as the arrow fight, even though I don't think that fight ever happens, then it's tolerable, right? But if they do a 1 fight deal with Rocha, that's not going to go over well. And I think Bud knows that, and I think Goldenboy knows that as well. And I would love that marriage between Bud and Goldenboy. I would love that marriage. Let's do it.
For sure. Shout out to Corey Lee Boxing, by the way. How you doing, brother?
That's right. And look, this juicing thing, shout out my guy Drew, big timer Drew. The thing about the juicing thing, and when other fighters call out juicers, right? And to me, it's a compliment. And I watched Floyd do it with Manny for years, and that's what apparently kept the fight apart, right? It was a good excuse to use. But if you're doing it, if these fighters are doing it without any type of evidence, I like that the teams are coming out and saying, no. Cease and desist, show some evidence,
Sure.
before you throw these things out there. Show some receipts. I like that because it's easy for Blair Cobs to go out there and say he's juicing. All right, what evidence do you have? Show it. What evidence do you have? Also, with the Vergil thing, I just don't agree. Just to back up what you were saying, I don't agree that he gets hit too much. I just don't. I think it's been successful up until this point, and I think this style that he has can be successful at the top level of welterweight as well. I just do.
Blair Cobs was just going around interview after interview, just randomly just saying that Vergil is a juicer. He's obviously juicing. I saw him do an interview with Broadway Joe. Shout out to him. Just said it. It's so nonchalant too. Like, he just throwing it out there. Like, it's crazy to me. I think sometimes these fighters, because they go to the gym, they work hard. They're hitting the mitts. They're doing the road work. They're doing the sparring. You know what I mean? And they know how hard the sport is. And when they see a certain fighters do things that maybe they feel they can't do, they feel like, well, that's impossible. How could he do that? Right. And I think that's what it is. You know what I mean? I think Blair Cobs is a little jealous of Vergil Ortiz, quite frankly, in my opinion. I think it's a sign of jealousy. I think it's a sign of, I don't want to say resentment, but it's somewhere along those lines, you know, when it comes to that. There's no real reason to be accusing Vergil Ortiz of anything. Vergil's never tested positive for anything. He takes the same test. He's done the same promotional banner as Blair Cobs. So, how do we know you're not juicing? You know what I mean? How do we not know that you're just projecting out here? How do we know, right? Mm-hmm. How do we know you didn't juice for? Because anybody could do it, right? I could be like, oh, well, nobody thought he could beat Hooker, but all of a sudden he beat Hooker. I mean, I don't know. I think he was on something, right? Anybody could do that. Anybody could just throw out, you know, things like that. Anybody could just say that someone's juicing. You could just say it, right? So I'm glad he was served a cease and desist, right? I'm glad he was told, yo, you better quit the shit. We're going to court, right? And he immediately came out. I saw the apology. I don't know if you saw it, Alex. I mean, he sounded sarcastic to me. He just did it. Like, you know, he's like doing it. He's giving himself some plausible deniability, but it's kind of like, yeah, you know, he has an illness that is very rare. But, you know, I thought maybe it was PEDs, but I guess he has a very rare condition. You know, I just feel like maybe I'm reading too much into it, and I like your thoughts on it. Like, I think he's being sarcastic as shit. It's my opinion. I don't think it was a sincere apology.
Whether it's sincere or not, that's not the part that bothers me. It's, for years we saw the biggest fight in boxing held up over PED claims, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that was smoke and mirrors. They just didn't want the fight made. And I like the fact that managers are getting out there and saying, no, we're not going to have that. We're not going to have that here. I like that. If Rick Maresian is behind this, a cease and desist letter, I'd like to see more managers, promotional companies do this, more fighters do this, and say, show some receipts then. All right, show some receipts.
Because I think they should do it to content creators.
Yeah, content creators too. And for years, Floyd did this to Manny. Floyd's team did this to Manny. Content creators did this to Manny. And whether Manny was juicing or not, I'm sure there are people out there who believe that Manny was. But the thing is, Manny could have easily went out there and said, look at all the fighters juice. Look at all the fighters getting popped in your camp. Oh, number one. And number two, let's hear more about your relationship, your cozy relationship with USADA. Here's a cease and desist letter, or let's take you to court. So I'd like to see more of that, less accusations of juicing. You have to have some receipts, and it goes beyond juicing. Deontay Wilder for 2-3 years. Oh, this guy had loaded gloves, et cetera, right? Every excuse in the book. Show some receipts. Show some receipts. Tyson Fury should cease and desist letter there. Show some receipts. I'd like to see more of that happen, and I think it'll lead to less accusations. Show some more receipts, right?
Yeah, you gotta look at the end of the day. You can't just make accusations. You can't just accuse somebody of something. You gotta have proof, right? And we live in a world where, and maybe it's social media or something, but people could just say things about somebody. It could be a complete lie. They feel they could just say it with no repercussions whatsoever. And you know, if somebody wants to argue, I haven't seen anybody make this argument, by the way, but if anybody wants to say, "Oh, Blair Cobs, freedom of speech. He has a right to say what he wants." No, like that's not how freedom of speech
Defamation.
works.
It's
Like
defamation.
that's defamation. Like that, you
And,
can't
and,
just
and
do
look,
that.
Rachel Donaire can be out there saying, in a way, there was something wrong with his gloves and his wraps. But the issue is, Rachel Donaire is part of the team. Somebody is in there watching the wraps being wrapped on Inoue's hands.
Yeah,
Right?
like
So
I'm glad you brought that up.
it's sort of your fault. I said the same thing at Cotto. If Margarito did load his wraps before the fight, the first fight, it's sort of your team's fault for not catching that.
If he
Props
did.
to Mosley's team for catching it.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. One of the issues I have with this, and look, shout out to Rachel Donaire, shout out to Nonito. Right, I have all the respect for Nonito Donaire. Nonito Donaire is a future Hall of Famer. Okay,
Yeah.
Well, like he's already in Hall of Fame in my mind. But and Rachel's done a great job being in his corner. I believe the Obali one was a great win. Like all that good stuff, right?
Yep.
Inoue is and his team are not on these YouTube streets, you know, doing the rounds, and they don't have the ability to counter or tell their side of there's two sides to every story. Only fools can listen to one side, right? As much as I respect Rachel and Nonito, I'm not going to believe their side of the story. Well, what's Inoue's side of the story? There's going to be another side to the story, right? And I don't know. I just feel like you can't. She's made insinuations that there was something's up with the wraps, the gloves, and at the end of the day, you can't just say those things without us hearing the other side of the story. And in a way, I haven't seen him talk about it. Okay. And he speaks Japanese, and I wouldn't know what the hell he's saying anyway. Right. So it is what it is, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. Like, I'm not going to rule out anything, but look, man, we can't have people around here just believing that Inoue did some illegal shit without actually knowing everything. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, yes, you do get the opportunity to watch the wraps. You do get the opportunity to inspect the gloves. And there was something up with the gloves or whatnot. Okay, well, I need more information, because I've heard people make accusations like Wilder, and they were non-founded. You know what I mean? I've heard all types of accusations. Like Crawford was accused of cheating, and you know what I mean? Like it's like, all I'm saying, Inoue can't tell his side of the story. He's not around here giving his side. And me personally, it's an open invite. Anytime on HCP, Rachel Donaire wants to come on, I would just like to ask some questions and get to the bottom of it a little bit. You know what I mean? I will press. Like, it is what it is. Okay? Because I feel like, you know, and I get panels are going to be respectful, but, you know, guys, you could question a little bit once in a while now. You know, you don't have to agree with everything your guest says on the show. You know, I'm just saying. All right, but that's my take on it. I think Calix is frozen.
All right, I'm back. Was that on my end?
I guess so. It might have been mine. I have no idea, actually.
I'm back.
Yeah. So look, with that said, the poll's closed, by the way. Bivol won the poll. If we did this before the Zurdo fight, I usually Beterbiev would win the polls. You know what I mean? Shout out to Al Money. How's it going? Corey D says, I told Rachel Donaire was gonna get hurt, and got hurt in the first fight, though. Look, shout out to H Money. Rachel Donaire was on a panel with on H Money's, and they were just like hyping her up and like, oh, Donaire's gonna beat him in the rematch. And like, I get it. Everybody got excited. It is what it is. beating Inoue was going to be a tall task.
He's special.
Especially when, like, I mean, look, Nonito's, he might feel young, but he's 40 years old. It's going to be hard to beat a prime Inoue. It just is, right? Could the fight have been different if it was, let's say, 10 years ago? You know, a Donaire from 10 years ago, maybe, right? But we don't know. But I still give Donaire, look, man, Nonito's effort in that first fight was something amazing. It really was. And I give him all the credit in the world. And he did bust up the orbital bone and everything. So that could have led to a stoppage. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, the debate was settled in the rematch, in my opinion. Like, that settled it, in my opinion. But so, what are you going to do? Alman, how's it going? Look, final thoughts. You know, Calix, a lot is said about, and we talked about it on the last HCP. It might be a theme with me with the final thoughts for a while. First of all, really quick, nobody with 96 losses should be allowed to fight. I think there should be a cap. I don't know, like after 50 losses, it's a wrap. Maybe like you got to retire. That's it. Like, bro, I believe in defending a fighter from themselves. It's got to be across the board. These journeymen, like, isn't 50 reasonable after 50 losses? It's a wrap, right? Mm-hmm. That would do a lot of things. That would encourage journeymen to not put no effort and just lose to get a paycheck. It would do that. It would stop the shock of seeing somebody with 96 losses. Like, what? How does this happen? Right? So I just want to put that out there. And I wonder what you guys think. Should there be a cap on the amount of losses, right, a fighter should take before we make them retire? I just want you guys to thought on that. But I want to talk about, to piggyback, and it's going to be a common theme with the final thoughts here, guys, with me anyway. Boxing's a business. We keep hearing fans say that. I don't think fans should be using that language, just like you don't use that language when you go to Walmart and you need customer service, or you don't find something you need, or you don't say, oh, it's a business, and empathize with like, oh, they're treating me in a rude manner, but let me empathize. I understand where they're coming from, right? Empathy is an important thing, but as a fan, you should limit the amount of empathy you have towards promoters, towards fighters, especially when they have no empathy towards the fans, right? They show us no empathy. They show no empathy towards those that fund the sport, but you guys want to be all empathetic and be all understanding. And the understanding is usually just towards the A side. It's never towards the B side fighters, right? It's only understanding towards the star fighters, not the journeymen, okay, not the regular contenders just trying to get their shot and have a second job. And it's never towards that. It's always towards the stars and all that. Mm-hmm. We don't need to be assisting in that, right? And I've heard a common thing. And shout out to him, but I've heard several people make mention that the fans have no say in the sport, right? That everything that happens in the sport, the fans don't really have a say or anything like that, right? That's what I hear. But at the end of the day, I don't have the image I wanted up, so let's put it down. But we don't need to be protecting anyone in the sport that's making moves that goes against our interests. We don't need to be empathetic. We don't need to be understanding. We need to be demanding. And for anyone who tells you that demand doesn't work, anyone who tells you that the fans have no say in the sport, right? That type of thinking is the reason why the popularity of boxing has dropped. That type of thinking is why the ratings are in the tank. That type of thinking, like not giving the fans that are demanding certain things what they want, is why they cross over and they watch UFC. You know how many fans or how many friends of mine tell me all the time, I just couldn't deal with it anymore, so I just settled for UFC. I'll just, at the very least, I get to watch the best fight the best. And while I get this debate about that, and is that 100% true? It's not even close, guys, okay? For the most part, the UFC gives the fans more often what they want, okay? That's why their arenas are packed throughout the whole show. That's why all their pay-per-views do at least 200,000 or so. even if you want to say 150,000, but there's interest week after week. Like, it is what it is. That there's interest in it. MMA gyms are packed. Okay, kids are excited to join MMA gyms. They're excited to, like, that's our future. And we're driving the kids. We're driving, the future towards another sport. Like, simply because we want to have the attitude that the fans have no say. We'll have content creators here mock fans and say things like, you guys think you have a say because you want to see a fight. You don't call the shots. The matchmakers make the fights. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not, but now, admittedly, I am focusing on the United States, admittedly, right? And the United States has always been a big component of boxing, right? It's not the only component. Anyone who acts like it is crazy, right? Shout out to Drew, by the way. Boxing is elite and popular outside the U.S. Thank you for the support, brother. I don't disagree with that. But we need to make sure, all right, that in order to bring popularity back, it's sad, bro, that we've had fights here in the U.S. where the majority of the fans in the arena were people that crossed over from the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Like, when there's people that live in that city. You know what I mean? Like, it's sad to see like Devin Haney fight, and it's like 1/4 or half of the arena's full. It's sad to see Fulton, and he's getting 60,000 at the gate. It's sad to see Zepeda Prograis, and it's not packed. It's sad that we're in this predicament. Ramirez isn't the big money draw. People act like he's not, right? Like, it's crazy. So at the end of the day, it's sad that Tank sells 200,000 and people act like he sold 1 million or something, because that's all we got. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, boxing has mistreated its fans for a long time, and we paid the price for it, to be honest with you. The arrogance, the one last thing I'll say, the arrogance of content creators and fans, because look, I expect it. I expect it from promoters and managers, and they're just doing their job in that sense, right? But the arrogance of, no, we don't need to do what you say. You don't call it. These fans think they call the shots. Fucking idiots. They're on the internet demanding the best to fight the best, and they think they're going to get it. And that mocking attitude is a reason why this sport in the United States anyway is in a fucking toilet. Okay? That's why. You have a dude from Mexico, Saul Canelo Alvarez, who has to sell out spots here. Okay? That's the truth. When there was a day, Calix, where I would tune into Friday Night Fights, and a dude from Rhode Island will pack up the place, an armory or some shit. Okay? But I just don't see that anymore, bro. It kind of is what it is. What are you going to do? And now it's not even a guarantee if you're Hispanic that you're going to sell. Because Zepeda is Hispanic. Zepeda is Mexican. That's why
Ray Vargas,
California.
Ray Vargas in San Antonio. Is that going to be a sellout?
Probably not. Probably not.
How well is that going to do?
The sport isn't as popular in the United States. So just to clarify, it is a correct clarification. Like it used to be, because of the arrogance. And if you think about it, Calix, who are the content creators for the most part? Who are the fans that talk like that? Boxing's a business. You don't understand the sport. You don't know how the sport works. It's usually the American fans, bro.
Yep.
So
and it's not only this is with fight, and I'll roll off of that as well. Is shout out my guy Drew. I watched the Canelo versus Golovkin fight with him out in Vegas, and he told me he travels to fights. He travels to the UK, travels around the world for fights. And when we were at Canelo versus Golovkin, that place did not fill until the main event. It was 60 to 70% full for the BAM fight, which was the co-feature. American fight fans have a different mentality than the fight fans over there. He's telling me he goes to the UK and it's packed from the very beginning. It's packed. People are going to see the undercard fights. We saw that with celebrity boxing a couple weeks ago. The first fight, the place is packed. All right. And it has a lot to do with American promoters taking us for granted over the years. So we're just not as energetic about the sport as they are over there. Canelo likely going to the UK in May. Fulton Jr. likely going in April to Japan. They're realizing where the fights are. And if Canelo is not above traveling overseas to fight, nobody is. Nobody is. Fulton Jr. is going to do something. He's like the Columbus of the PBC, D-style. He's going to look down. He's going to be the first PBC fighter to hop on a plane for a fight and see an ocean.
Well, in fairness, Spence did go fight Brook, but it's been a while. Right? You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ.
PBC fighters do not know what it's like to look down, traveling to a fight out of their plane window and seeing an ocean. They don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like.
What's with these dudes with this? What's with the protection agencies out here? Now, granted, not only does demand it does work. Okay, boxing fans demanding does work because boxing fans been demanding undisputed. What are boxing fans getting? More than ever. We don't get it all the time. We're not getting we're not getting the fights at the rate we want. Still, I'm not satisfied. I'm not. I'm tired of people telling me, "Oh, just be happy with it. It's in a good place. Be happy with boxing." See, you know what? Anybody saying that, fuck you. How about that? You don't get to tell me or any boxing fan, all right, how we should feel or not feel. Be happy with. Just take it. Just be happy with what you're given. I'll be happy with the fights I'm happy with, and I'm not going to be happy with the fights I'm not happy with. How about that? Okay. If you want to be in the business, go to the business then. Go do that. Go on the other side. Go on the other side of the counter and serve me and let me demand shit for you. How about that? Serve me those fries. I want those fries fresh. I don't give a fuck. Oh, no, but you need to understand. If you were in their shoes, it's more work. It's a business. You're making them put the batch of fries back in. Shut up. How about that? I'm tired of hearing about ticket sales from when no American fighter's selling like that, okay? No. But Ramirez ain't selling shit either. So when you want to talk about progress, ain't selling and all the drawing power and 65-35 when we're not even at a fucking purse bid yet. Like, this shit's insane.
For the first time in boxing history, we don't have an American boxing star. I need people to wake up and realize that. We don't have an American star.
The suits. They want to put on the suit and lecture. Okay, they want to lecture. They want to be preachy. They want to educate people about the business of boxing is not that complicated. No one goes to school to get a bachelor's on the business of boxing. Learning the business is easy. It doesn't make you a genius knowing how the sport works.
I need people to realize this too, D-Style, is they tell you it's complicated. It's complex. The deal is they're not complex. They're brainwashing you. These fights can be made. They can be co-promoted, co-network. They can figure it all out. They want you to believe that they can't. And on top of that, it's particularly a pandemic in America with this. Particularly, right, is Ring IQ came on one of our channels and talked to us and had this discussion months ago. And he said the reason they're trying to make this more complicated than it is, but the reason that a growing number of American fans are flocking to becoming fans of foreign fighters is because they like to fight. It's crazy. It's a crazy concept. They want to fight. They want to fight the best. What did we hear from Bivol after the Canelo win? We all thought, oh, give me the rematch. I want to be undisputed. I've already done the Canelo fight. I want to be, if I do the Canelo fight again, I'll fight him at 168. That way belts are on the line.
Look, man, I'm also tired, bro. I'm tired of the arrogance of the American fight fan at this point. What are we arrogant about? Exactly. None of these dudes are Hearns. None of these dudes are Hagler. None of these dudes are Sugar Ray Leonard. None of these dudes are Muhammad Ali. They're not even fucking Floyd Mayweather. Okay? So this arrogance of like, oh, they got to come here because we got the best and we're the best. And like, where's this coming from?
We only own 25% of the real belts in boxing at this point. 25%.
Which is high, but not for the standard that was created before. Nope. It's going downwards. That's what's happening at this point, right? Like, the arrogance of like only American fight fans will say things like, well, if anyone wants to prove he's the real deal, he needs to beat Fulton. Like, so he needs to move up to a fourth weight class now, right? Mm-hmm. And beat like the best dude in that weight class to prove that he's a good fighter. That is arrogance and it's unfounded. Not even Fulton saying that nonsense. Fulton's like, oh, I think he's a great fighter. I want to challenge myself against the best. Let's go. I think that's a good thing, right? That's the right mentality. But this whole attitude of like, no, they got to come here, come to America. Based on what? Come to America, like based on what? We're not drawing like 60,000 at the gate. Are you kidding me? Like, what does that even mean? Like, times have changed. Times are changing, and pampering our fucking the American fighter isn't helping either. Pampering them and justifying and defending them, putting on the suits, put on suits for Ramirez and Teofimo. Okay, when it's obvious that they should fight Prograis. Look, all these things they're saying. Oh, you don't sell tickets. If Prograis sucked, they would have put him in the ring already. They would already make the fucking fight. All right, that's just the fucking truth.
We can't work with Probellum. Of course, they can work with Probellum. A top-ranked fighter just worked with Probellum, a Probellum fighter. Of course, they can work with Probellum. And just to address Drew's comment here, I've been saying it on my channel for at least a year. There's gonna come a time, I give it a decade, maybe earlier, where these American fighters are going to realize the money is going to be across the pond. The bigger fights are going to be across the pond as those audiences continue to grow and our audiences continue to shrink as we see numbers like, no matter what you think the pay-per-view number is, what we do know for a fact is Tank's replay number was a little over 100,000, peaked at 124,000. That's putrid compared to where we were a decade ago. These fighters are going to realize they got to go where the fights are, and the fights are going to be growing. It's going to be a growing trend that the money is going to be elsewhere. Look at where Usyk versus Fury is going to be. The big pot's going to be in Saudi Arabia.
They're going to go where they got to go, where the money's at. It's prize fighting, right? We always hear about the business, and everybody wants to talk about business, but for some reason, business doesn't matter when the sense don't make sense. It's crazy. Drew says that microcosm is how the world views USA. It's not the center of the world, and the world has moved on, and other places are more cosmopolitan. The USA don't travel. And they don't realize, bro, they don't even cross, like, you know what's funny, Calix, is that, you know when Spence talks about crossing the street? It's funny how you could apply that to American fight fans. They literally won't cross the street to an arena to watch their fighters fight, right? Like, this is crazy. This is where we're at, bro. And I know Chicano brought, I'm a big Vergil fan, but he's not getting the support that even like Juan Ascano got here in El Paso, like it's like 20 years ago. I'm seeing it. Like, if you don't see it, I don't know what to tell you.
People in New Orleans, dude, I'm here in New Orleans. People don't know Regis. They don't know him.
People don't know Regis. Now, am I going to use that as an excuse for Deuce to duck him? Right?
Right.
And another thing, when a fighter gets told, hey, when fans say, hey, stop ducking him, fight him, right? That's a fan's way of demanding a fucking fight, okay? It doesn't mean you need to agree. Maybe you have a different take. Maybe you don't agree he's ducking, okay? But I'm just sick and tired of the virtual signaling and like, oh, well, are you saying he's scared? Fighters don't get scared. Like, stop, okay? If you want to be a matchmaker, if you want to be a manager, an advisor for fighters, go knock yourself out. If you're such an expert in the business, why aren't you in the business? I'm tired of all these dudes that are just experts in the business, and they're not making money in the business of boxing. This is crazy.
But that's part of the brainwashing process is they want you to feel guilty for calling for the fights. They want you to feel guilty for behaving like a boxing fan. So less boxing fans are behaving like boxing fans, at least as far as content creators.
This is crazy. This is crazy. Boxing fans should not feel guilty for having the fights they want to have. Once upon a time, says Los Chingones, Boxing World wanted to fight in Vegas or Madison Square Garden, but that's not the case anymore. Look, not for the most part, right? Once in a while, you will get, like Katie Tater said, it's a dream to fight in Madison Square Garden. Some fighters say that still. I've interviewed some of them. But, dude, the O2 Arena is becoming a hotbed, too. Wembley's becoming a hotbed. Like, you know what I mean? If boxing, if the Madison Square Garden is the Mecca, I mean, the UK is the Medina then. You know what I mean? It's another holy land for boxing at this point. And that's just the truth. Look, the fact that Clarissa Shield got more love in the UK than in her home state tells us everything, guys.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
The fact that we have like a lot of fighters begging for fights, especially the female fighters, to be put on cards when they're from the U.S. tells you everything. Like at the end
Watch
of the day,
Canelo's reception when he goes to the UK. And Bud talked about it when Bud went to the UK. He said they have the best boxing fans in the world. Bud said that. Bud, go over there and fight.
Yeah, but anyway, less of this. All right, what's with the suits, Cal? Should we wear suits next week?
Yeah,
and like protect the fighter. You know what I mean?
Let's do it.
You know what I mean? Just put on the suit, look fresh. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm just saying. You know, like tell them to kiss my ring, and oh, you're gonna take it, and all this. Like I'm just tired of people being preachy, telling fans to just take whatever they're giving you. It's all good. Boxing's in a good place. Let everyone has their own opinion. Some fans think it's in a good place, some don't, especially in the U.S. And it's more complicated, right? Because Drew brought up a good point. Yes, I'm mainly talking about the U.S. I'm centered around that, but I mean, Inoue is a star in Japan. I mean, it is what it is. Like we have stars in different countries. It's kind of hot. Like Chisora is a pay-per-view star in fucking the UK, so that tells you everything. You know, he's a promoter now, by the way. But that's all I got, Calix.
Myself as well. Another great show.
Another great show. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here. Peace.
God bless.